cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 Just black and white. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 Just black and white. Black and white.
Hello everyone, welcome to Simracersworld TV for rounds 3 and 4, the sprint and feature race here from the SRW BMW Trophy, sponsored by Abruzzi. My name is Hasse Rømer. I'm here with Markus Gjesdal, and we are your Scandinavian dynamic duo, ready to take you through the swings, twists and turns of tonight's action. Markus, Imola, not a place known for being easy to race on, but in a car like this and with these let's say, equal circumstances that the drivers are racing under. What are we expecting here tonight?
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be a typical countryside drive, really, for these guys at this track with these GT3 cars. It's a track with 18 turns here, then, or 19 rather, up around almost 5 kilometers of racing, and we're expecting to see a lot of hard racing, but in the same time, it's going to be really hard for people to pass here.
Indeed, and I'm also expecting it to be close, as we saw last week at Silverstone, or 2 weeks ago, pardon me. We had some very, very, very close racing on display indeed. And it came to be some very good stuff. And it shows as well when looking at the championship standings as well. I'm going to have a look at that in a very short moment indeed. Mind you, that's going to be right about now. So, after rounds 1 and 2, of course, that is the sprint and feature race. And I'll get back to that in a short moment's time. We have some of the closest standings that I've seen in a very long time. Ed May, who is a colleague of ours here in the booth, we're going to be mentioning that plenty. Of course, no special focus for Ed. That's special treatment, but it's worth noting. He leads the championship, but by a single point, Markus, again, and ahead of 2 drivers. So both Sepp Hebra and Sam Baxter a point behind the leader after the opening 2 rounds. And if it continues like that, we're in for a treat here.
Yeah, we're probably watching the most important part of this race so far tonight, with the qualifying setting the field. And as stated earlier, this is going to be a place where it's going to be really hard for these guys to pass. So Edward May putting himself on pole right now is going to for sure allow him to keep extending his championship lead if he can have a clean race 1.
Very much so. They'll be looking for that. Currently sitting in a very good place here, as we are just around 7 minutes from the end of qualifying. Edward May, Sepp Hebra, and Sam Baxter, 1, 2, 3 at the moment. And then Andrew Hopley, Michael Pedersen, Greg Frank, Spot Boland. It's Mr. Fuller. It's Mr. Cook. And then I can't see 10th place at the moment, but I will so quickly. It's James Salt for Evo SR. David Fuller and Paul Cook. I'm sorry, that just slipped out of my mouth. A Freudian slip, if you will. Paul Cook it is. And I'll do my very best not to repeat that mistake, while trying to keep my mask solid and professional. In a situation like that, rather hard it is. James Salt goes 7th with his fastest lap at the moment. Mind you as well, already at this point here, lap times are already quicker than what we saw in practice. So the heat is really getting on here. Edward May is having a storming start to this series, sitting in a very good position, leading the championship, and also looking at what could be pole position for Amir. Someone's off. I think that's Mark Lewis. And let's just have a look what has happened. This is in the Villeneuve chicane. Oh, he cuts the sausage on the inside and gets a bit of a flyer from it. And that's his lap ruined.
Yeah,
But
speaking about
Edward,
speaking about Edward as well, we were talking about this internally a little bit regarding his status, because at the moment he's currently the fastest silver driver and also the fastest driver on track, and he's also beating the entire gold field so far. So he's got to be upgraded to a gold level driver in at least 2 weeks time. Is that about time we were waiting?
Yeah, very much so. It's gonna happen for sure. We're gonna have a sort of a mixing of the field in 2 weeks' time, when the drivers will be finally swapped into their final orders, you could say, in terms of classes. We do have gold, silver, and bronze drivers, which gives us, of course, an overall title, but also 3 class championships to look at through the season. It's going to be interesting indeed. I was just going to get back on the format of this series, because I think it does need a bit of explaining. We have the sprint race coming up. There is no fuel tank limit in there, so they'll be able to go through without a pit stop. There is no fast repair as well. And it's a 30-minute race, of course, with the grid order decided by the qualifying session ending just around 4 minutes from now. And then we got the feature race, interestingly so. 45 minutes of racing, only 50% fuel tank size, so they will need to make a pit stop, albeit a short splash and dash at some point. And they'll have one fast repair for that, so a pit stop, 45 minutes. And the top 10 finishers from the sprint race will be starting in reverse order, and from there on it's as they come across the line. So for instance, if Ed May comes home to pick up another victory in the sprint race, he'll be starting in 10th place. If Seb Hebra were to finish in 2nd, he'd be in 9th place, etc, etc. And it made for some very interesting stuff, and it always does when we have these. This is something more akin to touring car racing. It does apply very well to these GT cars as well, I think. And when you see the top dogs having to fly through the field in the feature race, that always makes for some action.
Yeah, really looking forward for the feature race that will have this strategic element in there, and also the fast repair, which is it had a lot to say for a lot of people 2 weeks ago at Silverstone, where we had the huge pileups in turn 4 and turn 5 coming down the straight. And let's just hope that we don't get a repetition of that tonight, as this field usually tends to be very close in regards of racing fair to each other, and having also 3 different classes which people are racing within in the same race. I think that's really helped calming down the entire nerve in the field and allowing people to focus on just what their actual task is.
That's actually a very good point, that say if you're a bronze driver, you're not going to be all that focused about what the gold and silver drivers are doing up ahead, and it's going to be more a battle within the bronze drivers. That does open up the series as well to a wider audience, and if you will, a wider range of participants. And it's nice to be able to offer something that's more for everyone and not just for the fastest of drivers. The 333 car here of David Fuller for Geordie Racers, silver driver he is. He's in 9th place at the moment. Pretty close there with Bot Boland, just 0.05 of a second separating them in on the lap times. And generally so, Markus, throughout the top 10 and throughout the field, gaps are indeed very, very small. And it's in fact so that as far as I can see, the top 10 are almost within a second. Top 9 drivers within a second here. And still a few laps here to go, as Edward May is trying to do what he did at Silverstone. He's playing a proper F1 move here, Markus. He's trying to get out there as late as he possibly can, and maybe just see if he can notch a slight bit off of his lap time to secure pole position.
Yeah, you mentioned it last time. He got in there last minute and got pole position at Silverstone. Right now, he's the guy that everyone wants to beat. 0.13 away from Seb at the moment. Let's see if anyone else has something for him.
Yeah, indeed, here is Seb Hebra on a fast lap at the moment, I believe. Let's see if we can get our qualifying graphics up, or have they been... Might actually have... You know what? Yeah, I'll see if we can get that up, but I don't... we used to have a bit of a qualifying graphics, but they might have... it might have gone. And so it has. So I spoke too soon there. We're just gonna have to keep an eye out the timing board there. Edward May is just about gonna make it. 14 seconds. A little bit less even. Just over 10 seconds from the checkered flag. Perfect timing from Ed May, and none of his competitors will be able to do anything about it if he increases his lead. Here comes Seb Hebra. Let's see what he has in store. Will it be an improvement for the German on the line? 42.869. That's not an improvement. 0.3 off of his personal best. Here's Sam Baxter, who I think has made it onto a hot lap as well. Just to end off the session, same goes for Andrew Hopley. And I think Andrew Hopley is in the braking zone into the Virazzas. Yeah, he is. Very much so. Imola indeed, Markus. We talked about this beforehand. It's a driver's track. It's really it's really a pleasure to get around there, but mostly so if you're by yourself, because racing here is hard. It's narrow, it's twisty, and while you have decent braking zones, the corners that come from them aren't really the overtaking sort of corners, if you will, and it is indeed going to be difficult. One thing you can say is that if you do decide to go too wide around here, you're going to lose a lot of time. So drivers have to be really precise about it, unless they want to lose out. And it could all come to advantage the drivers that can get away ahead and not battle too hard with one another.
Yeah, as you said, a very technical track this. Having to try and get the car set up before you go onto the brakes. Edward May going into the pits. He knows it's a good pole position for race 1. Good job there from Edward, our silver driver. Bound to be a gold driver, but you touched on it. This track is going to be extremely difficult to race on, and especially with these cars who are also aero-dependent to some level. We saw it with the Formula 1 Grand Prix that raced here just a few months ago, how hard it was for them to pass with significantly more aero, that being said. But these guys are definitely going to have a challenge now, trying to nurse their way through this first sprint race.
Yeah, indeed. So the session is ticking over, and in a very short moment, we shall have a grid to display for you, so we can see just how the running order is going to be for the 30-minute sprint race that is set to happen in just a few minutes. By the way, a warm welcome and a very good evening to everyone tuning in with us on, of course, on YouTube, but also on our Twitch page and on Facebook as well. And with that said, a thankful word to our sponsor, Abruzzi Racewear, for making this series possible. A link to their site you can find in the description below. Anyway, Ed May takes pole position with a 1:42.5 dead and straight. That's a very good lap time indeed. Seb Hebera just about the 10th. And that's what he's off. He is in second place. Sam Baxter, Andrew Hubley is on row 2. Michael Pedersen for Volante with Greg Franks for Hedge Motorsport on row 3. And row 4 is going to be Bud Boland and James Salt. David Fuller and John Barnes rounds off the top 10. And then we got Paul Cook and Andrew Lovesey all the way down in 12th place. Who was a pacey one at Silverstone indeed. Let's see how his race pace is here at Imola. Jeremy de Boever and Nils Manschanden is in 13th and 14th place. And then Paul Gosling and Nelson Ignacio for 27 Motorsports in the 27 car indeed. We see what you did there. Paul King in the 26 machine is ahead of Gavin Thomas on row 9, and then the 10th row of the field will be James Hopton and Luke Schneider. Will Hunt, and those two are teammates, new joinies, and I saw that it's James Hopton and Will Hunt, and if you combine them together, you'd get James Hunt, and that's pretty cool. Ian Roots is in 22nd, and Ben Llewellyn just behind him, 23rd. Then James R. Hall, 24th place for him. Stuart Musselwhite in the 18 SRW esports car is ahead of Sandro Ballesteros in the number 5 team or E-team Brit machine. Hassan Arafat, the Dutchman, for AR Racing in the 340 car, 27th. And then Philip Hubley, Bradley Brockies, Mark Lewis, and for Holy Cow Racing in the 36 machine, and sporting a very nice livery for this series, the German Dirk Reske.
Holy cow, is that what he said when he qualified in the last place, or perhaps didn't get a lap in?
Holy Cow Racing is something that I think they've stemmed from what used to be called the Sunday GT3 World League, which is now coming back to Simracersworld TV this very Sunday as well, I'm pleased to tell you.
Worth mentioning, by the way, that Dirk isn't actually on the grid at the moment either. He's still in the pits, so not sure if he's actually going to start this race.
Let's see if Dirk Reske starts from the pit, but our focus will be elsewhere, as Edward May, he's got championship contender Seb Hebera right by his side, and Andrew Hubley, Sam Baxter. The top 4 is the top 4. Then Michael Pedersen, he will be looking at a good result here as well. The Dane is swift. Let's see if he can make it work. The Volante team, certainly a team that knows how to make stuff work at the pacey end of competition. And as we go just about waiting for green here at Imola, and the sprint race is underway. We got 30 minutes of action going on here, and Edward Mate's taking an absolute flyer as they come underneath the bridge, and we're gonna watch out for any types of notches and bumps, because these two opening chicanes on Imola very tight indeed. Already Paul Cook here.
Sam Baxter off into the exit of Tamburello. So things happening already then in the field.
Sam Baxter, and that's going to be poor for him. Let's see what happened. I think he's made contact perhaps with Haberah. Oh, That's the slightest of touches, and a bit of a netcode as well. And then the car kicks to the other side, just touches the soft barrier, I'm sorry. Sam Baxter all the way to the far end of the field here. That's a very unlucky start for him. But with a lot of cars and not a lot of space, it's what you come to expect in the end here. Andrew Hopley now up into third place, having taken advantage. Same goes for Michael Pedersen. Seems to be on the pace. And look at that up ahead there. Ed May is pulling out a little bit of an advantage to Sepp Heber here early days. Ed May did speak to us before the race here today. Said that both Silverstone and Imola are amongst the strongest of his tracks personally. And he was really hoping to pull out some good results here to get the series going. He's putting himself in a position to do just that. Here's James Salt, by the way, 6th place at the moment. He's climbed 2 places. Bud Boland's kept 7th. And a few drivers have lost a lot of positions. That said, Ian Roops, I'm afraid, has had a problem as well.
Yeah, mentioned it in the start. Sam Baxter having the issues in the start. Typical Imola stuff. And another thing here with Ian Roots, which we have in picture at the moment, who got nudged a little bit there in the entry toward the Alta chicanes. And it's going to be a lot of work for both Ian Roots here and Sam Baxter. Sam Baxter, however, who's really like trying to get back up there now, being sitting on a position of P27 at the moment. He's got the pace to climb through the field as well, so he's definitely one to have our eyes on, at least on the leaderboards.
Bit of close running here between the RLR Abruzzi teammate, and here comes Michael Pedersen up the inside. That's into Tosa, and he's trying to get past on Andrew Hopley. Andrew Hopley's having absolutely none of it. And up ahead, Ed May's going kind of defensive there against Sepp Heber, who's been closing the gap rapidly over the last lap and is now really coming into the fore here. Ed May might have had a small mistake or so. It seemed like a comfortable cushion of around a second. It certainly isn't anymore. And all of a sudden, we've got Sepp Heber within striking distance. Michael Pedersen here, very much the same. And he's got teammate, though, of Andrew Hopley, Greg Franks, there on his tail as well, trying to get involved in this in a very tense situation, you could say, over these opening laps. And Markus, we also see you very much have a point. The fact that it is going to be very hard to overtake. And for those drivers who are going to be having to race up through the bunch, at least the top 10 who's going to be turned around for the feature race, that's going to make it really hard for them.
Yeah, this is a track you very much have to make your own opportunities while racing. Either if it's psychologically or if it's actually physically pushing someone out of their way with some plate contact. But so far, we haven't seen anything out of the ordinary regarding these guys' racecraft. Most of them keeping it clean in the opening laps and bound for a great 30-minute race here. Getting up to lap 3 now, following Paul Gosling right now in a fight with Luke Schneider towards T1 and T2 then. And Luke is on the attack at the moment. Car 42 and 150 then. Luke Schneider is trying to keep his nose in the game at the moment, out of turn 2. And he still has position, and this is a very hard fight, and there's a contact there. 2 cars off, and that's it's not teammates, both of them. It was very,
James Hopton and I think Ben Llewellyn is the other Abruzzi car. Oh, slight contact there sends them both off and into the wall, picking up damage. And here in the sprint race, that is gonna be all but over. Any chance of a result gone. And it's a small touch.
Oh, look at that, scrapping really bad.
Oh, that's horrible for James Hopton there. I have rarely seen anything that bad, and he's doing a good job to keep it on the road in the first place, but that's gonna be more than just a nuisance for the rest of the field if they come around to catch him. That's going to be...
just better toe. Yeah, there he
Oh,
goes.
yeah. Oh, my word, yeah. So probably
Yeah,
a good call.
Also breaching the first rule of racing here, Hasse. You're not really supposed to hit your teammate, so could be some discussions after the briefing after the race for the Abruzzi guys.
Yeah,
Hopefully it won't be too serious, as we're all here to just have fun in the hindsight of everything.
Yeah, so we're just going to have another look here on board with James Hopton, who... he can't go anywhere, and his teammate sort of comes across on him. And it's a complete racing incident. It's a misunderstanding. It might have been a little bit of a netcode. That's very hard for us to say. But these things happen, and we'll just have to pick it up from there and see if they can learn from it and basically just avoid making the same mistakes again. But it is indeed a narrow track. There isn't a lot of space. It's a track that was quite a bit wider back in the day, actually. And that seems to be the other way around for older race tracks being modernized and being widened and getting more and more runoff area. Imola, one of these tracks that seems to have really, even though it's changed over the years and had a significant reduction in its running pace with the chicanes added between Temporello and Tosa, still a place that's really, say, kept its soul all the way through, and it's one of these things that really make it great. Here's Michael Pedersen seemingly losing... He's not losing touch with Andrew Hopley, but he's not really gaining on him either. What's happening up front, though, is that Ed May is getting back into his rhythm. He's settling into it, and Seb Hebera, he's close, but he's not close enough, and he's going to have to push a little harder just to get on the tail of the Fury Sim Sports car ahead here, the German Seb Hebera, who did a good job over the opening 2 races as well. Further down, I'm sorry, go on.
Had the race's fastest lap time as well in the last pass, which is not this one, but the prior lap, and is really putting the pressure on his rival right now, Edward May. Both of these being coherent as well in the SRW broadcast community as well, both of them being staff members. So putting on a great show for P1 there, Edward May and Seb Herbert. As we get another look at Luke Schneider, and is it Will Hunt that we have in picture yet? Car 48.
Oh, Luke Schneider goes very wide there. I think it was Gavin Thomas for Quantum, and then that's Paul King for Ignium Motorsports in the 26 car. So I would say a good demonstration if you can overtake, but it's quite difficult indeed. And we're just gonna have another look at what we saw there coming down into the opening chicane there. You can see Paul King. Oh, yeah. He's just picking up action. He gave a slight nudge, and I'm surprised that nothing more came out of that. And a gentlemanly decision from Paul King not to take advantage of the fact that he's brought the car in front of him so much out of shape for a moment there. 8 minutes gone already, so a third of the way through, almost a third of the way through. Here's Seb Hebera, who I think Seb Hebera might have made a mistake here, Markus. The gap's grown to over a second and a half up to Ed May, and all of a sudden Seb Hebera is falling into the clutches of Andrew Hopley here.
Yeah, let's have a look at what his last lap time is going to be now. Losing a little distance to his Edward May, his target in P1 at the moment. But still leading P1 in the gold class here, Seb. But Andrew wants to come up here and change that a little bit. But regarding the other incident that we saw with Gavin Thomas, Luke Schneider, and Paul King, it's very much what we spoke about earlier. You have to make your own opportunities at this track with how narrow it is and how hard it is to try and get past. A lot of these braking zones are kind of skewed in a way. You have to get the car set up before you start braking, or else you won't get the max potential out of the tires. So trying to get everything optimized before even getting into the brake zone is really hard, and to try and plan ahead for a lot of these drivers probably.
Yeah, it's true. Let's just hop on board here with Andrew Hopley, and we'll get you a good glimpse of exactly what we mean here. So coming through the left-hander down towards Acqua Minerale, just have a look at how you come through this kink. And of course there's a little braking to be done, but then the braking is very hard into Acqua Minerale. There's a left kink here that also makes it difficult to get the run there. If you're on the inside, that inside becomes a much longer outside line, and chances are you're going to be out of it before the Variante Alta here, which are coming through. big cut up the curbs here, and I imagine the BMW is a car that isn't too unhappy about getting sent over the higher bits of curbing. It's a stable machine indeed. And then the Rømer, where of course a good run from here will gain you so much indeed. And it's one of those corners. Do you take it in second? Do you take it in third? From car to car, it's always difficult because often it's a bit high for second, and you can find the rear end being loose. Then in third again, the car might feel a little sluggish. One of them is always going to be the faster.
I want to breach in here a little bit, Hasse, because Seb has really gone away from Andrew again. He's really picking up the pace, trying to find what was lost in the prior lap. 1:44.29 on the lap that where he lost contact to Edward May, but now picking up the pace again, actually running dead on pace with our leader at the moment in P2.
Interestingly so that it isn't... Oh, what happened there?
Paul King and Sam Baxter there. Sam Baxter still working his way up through the field. That being mentioned, he had the horrible start at the opening lap of the race, getting a little too close with Seb Herbert in the Tamburello chicane. But figured it out again. Didn't hit anything other than the soft wall on the inside. Passes then Paul King on the inside into Tamburello. And this is how he wanted the first pass to be on the opening lap, and it ended up a little bit differently. But if he can get P10 now, he will be in pole position for the feature.
Yeah, the question is just how many positions he'll be able to gain back. He certainly has the pace to move up through the field, but as Murray Walker once said, it's one thing to catch up, and here at Imola, passing is quite another. And I think we'll see that on more occasions here tonight. Oh, we've had Stuart Musselwhite. It's had a bit of an issue. I think it just might have been a simple off-track excursion there. A bit of a trip to the beach on the outside of the Villeneuve chicane. And back with Baxter, up into 18th place. He's now on the rear end of the two quantum cars of Paul Gosling and Gavin Thomas. Will Hunt is up ahead in 15th place, but cars aplenty to pass for Sam Baxter in the 58 car. And oh, what's happening here for Andrew Hopley? Andrew Hopley has had some kind of problem. He's lost the position, and I think that's in the Tamburello chicane. He cuts the grass. Oh, he gets a bit of a flyer. Might have taken a bit of damage to the car there. The engine doesn't like those knocks when you go over those high bits of sausage curbing. And Michael Patterson said, "Thank you very much," or he might have said, "Tack ska du ha," and he's gone straight past and up into third place, the Dane, who's been running strong so far, looking consistent. Slightly off the top running pace here, maybe, but that's not going to hold him back. If the front runners make any sorts of mistakes, he'll be there to pounce. Further back here, by the way, we have a very close scrap here up ahead. Oh my word! Oh!
Car in the wall. That's Gavin Thomas, I think, the 48, and his car is absolutely destroyed after that for sure. Here we have them again. Gavin then crossing over to the right here, didn't see the guy behind him.
I think that's Sam Baxter. That's Sam Baxter involved.
Yeah, you're right. That's Sam Baxter. Didn't see Sam Baxter behind him there and turned over his nose and wrecked himself basically at the Ignium car as well, trying to avoid him.
That's Paul King. Right. Paul King in the 26 is going to pick up from that one as well, and that's going to cost him a lot.
Went to the right there to try and avoid him. Wanted to see the car go to the left there, but judged incorrectly, and it was too late for him to try and make a move to avoid him, and ended up just picking him up. We see it again. Trying to get in line here, Gavin Thomas, which is allowed to do, but you need to be aware of the cars behind you as well at the same time. So a small rookie mistake there from Gavin Thomas, one of our silver drivers. Sam Baxter luckily didn't get too much damage from that, I don't think. Back up to P17 then for him. So that being said, still chances for him to make some good points into the feature race. He can get P10, he will have pole, but that's going to be hard work, as you said. Passing here is going to be quite the challenge, and also trying to catch up with these guys in the front who's running really consistent lap times at the moment as well is going to be really challenging for Sam, who's just have to call this a day to forget, honestly, after that first contact.
Look at this Sam Baxter sneaking past the 42 machine there. That's the car of Paul Gosling. It's in the Tamburello chicane again. Now there is the machine of Will Hunt. Currently in 15th place, so he's gaining places, Sam Baxter, but not without a fight from the drivers involved, and a bit of an unlucky incident by no fault of Sam's. I'd say that incident before. When you're on the outside and a driver turns across you like that, you don't really have anywhere to go, and especially here in Imola. Oh, and what is that all about?
Flashing his lights there as well, showing himself on the outside. Very, very aggressive drive from Sam right now. He wants to make the places up if he can.
Yeah, but it seems like he was sort of held up there with the driver.
Look at that.
Oh, good run there.
Car behind got a massive run there from the exit. He probably would have been better off just trying to get into the racing line and not attack on the outside, but putting himself where he did really opened the door for Paul Gosling. He's not as aggressive into the next corners though, so he didn't set him up for a pass. Another one struggling now is James Salt in picture. He's got David Fuller behind him. They're both racing very, very close to each other. Bumper to bumper, these guys. Coming into Variante Villeneuve as well. This chicane here, in which you watched the Formula 1 Grand Prix, where Alex Albon spun out. So even if it looks a little, what can you say, not that dangerous or that sketchy on TV, it's quite the chicane to actually try and go through on the sim in one of these cars.
Yeah, and the left-hand bit's quite a bit quicker than the right-hander, and there's not a long distance in between the two, so you somehow got to find yourself slowing down the car quite a lot before you take that right-hander. You really can't brake too much on the turn, and either you'll go wide. And if your car's set up to be loose on the rear and to rotate like that, it's very, very easy to spin. And it is a tricky place indeed. It's one of those... it's a bit of a cheater, you could say. It's a place that doesn't really show its hand until you're mid-corner, the rear is going, you're like, oh. and find yourself facing the wrong way all of a sudden. Now back here, Sam Baxter still on the tail of Will Hunt here a lap later, hasn't found a way through. You have to wonder, Markus, if that caught a bit of damage to his car. There's a bit of a bump there toward the front, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really impede him big time.
Look at this run, though. Look at this run, though. It's very close. Let's see if he's going to do anything in the next corner. Probably going to wait it out for the straightaway here to try and get a huge run down into Tamburello. He's gaining a little bit here, but he's got... Yeah, look at this exit here from Sam Baxter. Looks a lot more steady than the car in front here. Will Hunt, who's debuting tonight as well in the bronze class, leading the bronze class as well, that being said. He's got a huge slipstream now. Closing the door there for Sam Baxter. Will Hunt trying to maintain his position. And Sam going on the outside, trying to hang on here. And he knew this from last time. It didn't work. There's contact there, up on the curb. That's definitely damage from the other side of Sam Baxter's car there. Immensely good defending there for Will Hunt. Didn't give him a single inch more than he had to, and put the pressure on Sam Baxter from being the defensive driver rather than being the offensive driver. So keeping his head cool here. Will Hunt.
Yeah, Will getting squeezed on the inside there. He picks up a bit of curbing himself, takes a flyer. Then they touch ever so slightly. That forces Sam Baxter on to suffer a bit of the same. They make a little more contact. Both of them keeping it, though, under control in this situation. Impressively so, because it's a difficult one to do. And they're all still alive. But Sam Baxter, he's driving for Fury Simsport. He is indeed going to be furious about that. He feels he's faster, and he probably is faster. Oh, and there's a problem there. Bad exit for Will Hunt on the exit of Aqua Minerale, and now down towards the Variante Alta, and that is the Quantum car side by side. He did not get past. How did he get past there? Impressive defending.
I have to correct myself as well regarding the Tamburello incident. Will Hunt, who got up on the curb there, pushed wide, which is why we had the contact. So another racing deal that, if you can say it. Will Hunt and then Paul Gosling going at it again. Will Hunt still defending perfectly on the inside of these chicanes, and these guys in the back have to try and figure out a different plan to get behind or get past Will Hunt, that being said.
Yeah, indeed. It seems to be the main focal point of the race at the moment. Meanwhile, Ed May leads by around a second and a half ahead of Seb Hebber. Then it's Michael Pedersen, Andrew Hopley, and Greg Franks in fifth place. In sixth, it's Bud Boland. Then David Fuller, James Sull, John Barnes, and Andrew Lovesey. And the gap down to Andrew Lovesey at the moment, I can say, is around 15 seconds from the race leader. So 20 minutes of racing, it's not gone all too spread out. And there certainly are some close battles here, as I think that's Baxter up the inside of Paul Gosling, getting that part of the job done yet again, because it's not the first time he left the defend maybe here. It seems Paul Gosling is close. He's very close, but I don't think he's going to do more than think about it here. Sam Baxter's now going to be back for round 2 here against Will Hunt.
Have to get past this car again of Paul Gosling, Sam Baxter, and then he has Will Hunt again, stalling a little bit here for P15, really hurting his job trying to get back up in the field. So I think this might be very conclusive for Sam Baxter regarding the feature race, cutting a lot of the curb there as well. Sam Baxter, Will Hunt then trying to defend. He knows his opponent. He's willing to take and risk it all. Very close into the Tamburello. We're going to probably see the same story again now. Sam Baxter trying to get the perfect corners on the exit of the to the straightaway. Coming down the start-finish line here then for the 13th time for these guys. Huge slipstream is going to get past him already now before we're getting into the chicane. Look at this, opening the door a little bit there. Will Hunt doesn't defend. Oh, he does. There's a touch there, and he's on the grass there, Sam Baxter. But he keeps the door wide open. He's punching that door as wide open as he can, like a police officer going in for a razzia. And now he's actually hit him and gone off the track again. And we have the same story. But now I think this is Paul Gosling's position right now. The silver driver was up to P9 in class. P15 then for Gosling, who pulled the longest straw from these two guys fighting and duking it out. What a fight we have here, Hasse.
Yeah, indeed. So here the move from Sam Baxter before. And then here Will Hunt getting off track in a situation that yet again these two drivers not wanting to give any bit. You can see Sam Baxter maybe coming in that little bit too hot. You can see the understeer on his car, then making contact with Will Hunt, who's on the outside. Nowhere to go for him. And Sam Baxter maybe just a little too... he really needs to make sure that the red mist doesn't descend too heavily upon him, because it can really be a fog of death, if you will. It sounds dramatic, but it's no good place to be when you're in the heat of a race like this. And Sam Baxter is finding it very tough indeed. Every single thing sort of playing against him at the moment here. Michael Pedersen still defending 3rd place. Andrew Hopley's come back at him here. And they're going to be scrapping it out over the final few minutes of the race. They're both getting ever so slightly on the brakes there, or in the grass, I'm sorry. And that's into the Villeneuve chicane now through Tosa. And Hopley is getting closer indeed.
Speaking about the incident regarding Sam Baxter and Will Hunt, this is going to mentally affect him a lot, trying to get past him. It really knocks his self-confidence down a lot. And also, a comment here from one of our guys watching, the Mew. Bumper Beamers is probably a good recommended series name for the next 4 weeks.
Indeed. Oh, look at this. James Salt has gotten passed here by David Fuller, and let's see what we can make of that, because they were fighting closely before. Here it is, and David Fuller on the outside. That's gonna be an impressive one to make stick here. I'm glad we got it back. What a move here from David Fuller. Oh, and James Salt is not impressed, but I think the rest of us are. There was space indeed. It doesn't always feel that way. And you do have to yield sometimes. That was impressive to make that stick around the outside. Wasn't a lot of space, but he made it hold on there. Oh, and Michael Pedersen just half a second ahead of Andrew Hopley, though the gap seems to have grown ever so slightly, because they were even closer last time we saw him. And James Salt, just as we come back, is going to have a go this time around, I think, at David Fuller.
Look at this, moving out to the side here, trying to go the long way around the guy in front of him, the 333 car. David Fuller then trying to defend again, up on the curbs, and there's a touch there, and the 333 car is around. David Fuller then, who perfectly defended there, had to get knocked out of James Salt here. If you see it, hits the curb on the inside, understeers immediately. There's no grip on the tires when you do that, so yeah. that's one way to end the fight. Luckily, we do have a jury or a steward panel that can look at these incidents after they've happened and go through them and give an appropriate reaction to it. You see it again. These chicane or these bumps really do ruin the chicanes here a little bit in iRacing. Personally, I think that definitely makes the track a lot smaller than it should be. That should definitely be a place where you can use some of the track since you're not actually on the grass, but iRacing then decided to put the curbs here when they scan the track, and yeah, it creates a headache from a lot of these drivers for sure.
Yeah, but I get the sense that they don't want drivers cutting too much of those curbs, but then again, it makes it so hard to race, because every time they go into race, that's the thing that really gets in the way. And it can be quite frustrating indeed, and sometimes I wish that at least here on the sim, some things that are put in for the means of real-life safety, I could leave them out perhaps, or scan an older version, or I don't know. Anyway, we do want complete immersion and realism, so if it's made like that, if it is like that, they'll make it like that. We know how iRacing is with these things. Dirk Reski, by the way, has climbed up a bit as well. And sorry, you were going to say something there, I think, Markus?
Oh yeah, no, I was clearing my throat a little bit there and didn't hit my mute button, but yeah. You're absolutely right regarding the way that they make tracks, if it is that way, and they also make tracks in certain specifications to certain series, like Circuit of the Americas, which is taken from an IMSA specification. We got another fight here from 20th, which is Ben Levlin and Philip Hopley here fighting it out. A little touch there from Ben on Philip's rear end. Getting down there into the straightaway again for the 16th time. These two guys duking it out, but it looks bad that for Ben that didn't get the best of runs coming out of the last corner.
I think Ben Llewellyn got a bit of damage to his front end as well. Oh, Llewellyn, yeah, but a Hates car. Oh, Hopley getting going quite deep into the Tamburello chicane there, and see if it'll open up doors for Llewellyn. But as I said, you can see the damage to the front end of the 77 car here as well.
Mind you, this is for 4th in class as well, the battle that we were just seeing. So 20th place, you might wonder why are you racing so hard for 20th place? Well, that's actually for 4th in class in bronze. So so you have 3 different fights in this field, which is absolutely spectacular with these silver, gold, and bronze gradings.
Yeah, indeed, it does create quite the spectacle, and it gives more meaning to the midfield battles. Here's Sepp Hebera, by the way, here with less than 2 minutes to go. He's closing the gap quite quickly here up to Ed May, and it was around 1.5 seconds over that not too long ago. Now it's climbed down to 1.3, and it's 3.5 seconds, by the way, down to Michael Pedersen, who isn't in any immediate danger. Here comes Sam Baxter, though, on Paul Gosling, and is he gonna get it done this time around in the 58? He is, I think, and Sam Baxter goes through up into 15th place. It's not been an easy ride for him to get there, but he is there in 15th, and I think every point counts for Sam, who's very much a part of the championship fight here. Michael Pedersen still looking good to hang on to a podium position here ahead of Andrew Hopley, and ultimately up ahead of these. It's still Ed May, it's Sepp Hebera, and status quo with 1.3 seconds between them.
Michael then, who has to defend for this 3rd place. I don't know if you're on the last lap right now or if we are concluding one more before the end of this race. But looking very good for Michael now. Just has to keep Andrew Hopley behind him as we switch our cameras to Paul Gosling again, who's had to release Sam Baxter. This fight has been like a good song on Spotify, which you just keep on repeating. Every single time that we change cameras back to these three guys, it's the same story all over again, and I love watching how they've been duking it out. A little tough on the defending sometimes, a little tough on the offensive sometimes, but still, it creates good TV, and that's what we're here to entertain and to watch good racing, good and tough and hard racing. And We have another story in store for you guys right now. Andrew Hopley then, who's really chasing down Michael Pedersen as much as he can now for second in gold. There's a car as well, changing his line. Back marker of sorts. I'm not sure which car number that was, but doing a good job there, just getting some space along to his fellow competitors that's fighting for the last podium spot in the overall standings. Edward May then, who's about to finish the last lap of this race for sure. Sebastian Herber as well, following tightly, really closing the gap now in the end of this race here, Hasse.
It's all about a good run here from the Variante Alta. If he can get that down towards the Rivazas, you know what? He can actually still... Oh, and there's a back marker! And I'm wondering, I don't think it really compromised Edward May's run there, and it doesn't seem like he's closing in 0.6 of a second. And surely, without any major mistakes from the Fury Sim Sports driver, the 107 car is going to win his second successive sprint race, which means yet again he's going to be starting 10th in the feature race, but it's going to be more points for the championship leader as Edward May picks up another race win here at the sprint race at Imola. And what a flawless and another lights to flag victory for him in the sprint races after taking pole position. A strong showing. Sepp Heber as well, second place, and then third for Michael Pedersen, right ahead of Andrew Hopley. Those two were really getting on over the final couple of laps. A good result as well for Michael Pedersen, getting onto the podium. Well deserved. Greg Franks gets 5th here in the feature race, ahead of James Salt, and then John Barnes, Andrew Lufsey, David Fuller, and Paul Cook, who's everyone else across the line by now. Here comes Jeremy de Boever in the number 40 car for Sim Racing Team Claude Ball, I suppose. And I'm going to say that's going to be, I was just about to say 5th in silver, but with Ed May, that's of course going to be 6th in silver. And I think on his debut, Will Hunt has put his real-life racing experience to good use and taken the win in the bronze class, which is not a bad result at all, and some very, very good fighting for him as well. Still a few cars left to cross the line here. It's going to be very close here between the other of the two Hopleys and Ben Llewellyn, but the number 6 car is just going to come in ahead. And that was one of the closest finishes I've seen in a long time there, Markus.
Good finish then for Ben Llewellyn, who comes ahead of, or actually behind Philip Hopley. Looked like he was ahead when he came across the T1, T2 there in front. Probably out of frustration there for Ben. But what an amazing first race we had here for these guys at Imola in the Simracersworld BMW Trophy. And as you stated, Edward May then extending his championship lead, 0.7 in front of Sebastian Herber, Michael Pedersen then as well, riding out the podium. Michael Pedersen, that is, not Michael Pedersen. Getting these names all mixed up when you're used to speaking in a completely different language here, Hasse. It is trying times sometimes.
It is. Well, to be fair on you, it is actually in Danish. It would be Michael Pedersen, but I suppose
yeah,
in English,
I'll lean on that. I'll lean on that.
It's always correct from some perspective, or not always, sometimes. Anyway, just to round it off there with Andrew Hopley, Greg Franks, Bud Boland, James Salt 7th. Then John Barnes in 8th, 9th is Andrew Lufsey, and 10th will be David Fuller. We'll be starting for Geordie Races on pole position in the feature race. Then Paul Cook, Jeremy de Boever, Nils Manshanten, and Nelson Inacio in 14th. Sam Baxter 15th, then Paul Gosling, Will Hunt, and Luke Schneider. We've got James R. Hall, Philip Hopley, Ben Llewellyn, Dirk Reski, Bradley Brockins, Hassan Arafat, and those, I'm afraid, are some of the cars that were involved in some of the heavier incidents. Mark Lewis had a tough race for himself as well. Then it's Sandro Ballesteros, it's Stuart Musselwhite, and Ian Roots as well for Simracersworld Esports. Gavin Thomas, Paul King, and James Hopton all receiving poor luck. You can see being on the receiving end as well for this race. They've got another chance for the next one. And well, actually, let's see if we got any drivers in the interview room for a bit of a chat. And as I was expecting, we got Edward May ready to have a chat with Markus Gjesdal.
Welcome then to the commentators booth, Edward May. This is the second sprint race victory you've had in 2 weeks, and how does it taste winning at Imola now?
Oh, it's so good. Honestly, it's such a good track. It's one that I knew I'd be quite good going into it, but I didn't think I'd be able to properly challenge for a race win. So I thought a podium, that'd be good to take away, but to get the race win is certainly something else, especially considering the championship battle's getting very tasty at the front. I know me and Seb, I think we were 1 point separate going into it.
Talked about qualifying being extremely important at this track as well, and you scored out the pole in the first race, and now you start 10th, and how do you think it will be carving up through the field? We saw how it ended up in Silverstone 2 weeks ago, and hopefully it won't be a repetition of that.
Yeah, Silverstone, I was still able to make gains on where I started in 10th place, but it's very difficult, especially at the circuit like Imola, the way the circuit goes. There's only really a couple, maybe 3 places where you can send an overtake. The rest of it is you just need to sit in behind and hope for a good exit. But, well, I'm just going to have to keep myself out of trouble. What happened last time at Silverstone, nothing I could have done. I was out of the way off the circuit and just got collected from an incident ahead. Just need to try and hope my luck favours me this time.
Edward May then, our colleague and pole sitter and race 1 winner. Congratulations on that, and we wish you very well good luck for the remaining race 2.
Thank you very much, Markus.
We also have a fellow Scandinavian as well waiting in the interview booth, and you know him the best, at least language-wise, but I'll let you talk to him in English still. So here's Hasse and Michael Pedersen for you all.
Oh, Michael, this is going to be weird. Why do we have to keep this English?
Keep it in English.
Strange indeed, isn't it? Anyway, Michael, your first podium of the season must be nice to pick up. It seems it's a long way coming after a bit of bad luck over the opening 2 rounds.
Well, I did have a podium in the sprint race in the first session, I believe.
Did.
But yeah, of course, the second race really didn't go to plan. So it was nice to actually, I was a bit disheartened in mid-race because they were just pulling on me for this race. But yeah, I got a bit of optimism towards the end, seeing that I was able to keep up with their pace on used tires anyways. But yeah, it was really nice to get on the podium once again.
And we know that the tire wear indeed is going to be much more of a factor for the 45-minute feature race, and with the pit stop as well. That should get your hopes up. How did you find the racing at Imola? There's been a lot of talk about the difficulty of overtaking, or you could say the ease of defending, if you will. But how did you find it here over the sprint race?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to catch a break with Andrew making a slight mistake coming into turn 1, where I gained 3rd place, and he definitely had the pace on me, so I can really relate on this because I was just keeping consistent and making sure it didn't go off anywhere. So I made sure to not make any drastic mistakes, which I definitely feel was one of the reasons why I kept him behind me. But yeah, he definitely had the pace, so I can definitely relate to what the people say with it being an easier track to defend on.
Indeed, Michael, and with a few good results now and a good place in the overall standings, what are your perspectives on the rest of this series?
Well, I definitely hope to be able to keep up this pace. I would love to be standing on the rostrum at the end of the season, but I don't want to get too cocky and too ahead of myself, because I've before had the issue of being way too overmotivated to overachieve perhaps, and then kind of losing the spark and the interest in the racing in of itself. So right now I'm just enjoying the really nice racing, but I would like to see these podiums accumulate a bit more, that's for sure.
Indeed. Well, it's been great to have you in for a talk, Michael, and thank you so much for joining us here for this post-race talk. Before I let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks or a shout-out to while you're on the air?
I mean, I would just really like to give a shout-out to my team, Volante Racing. They're a fantastic bunch of guys, and I can't thank them enough for actually giving me the opportunity to race in this championship without having to pay the entrance fee. So kind of cool from my perspective, anyways. And I just want to say that you guys really keep up the good work. I thoroughly enjoy watching your live streams.
Oh, thank you so much, Michael. We're glad to hear. And from me personally, I'm just going to say knæk og bræk. Og held og lykke med resten af sæsonen.
Tusind tak. Jeg vil gøre mit bedste.
Had to squeeze a bit of maternal language in there. It's so rarely that I get to do. Ladies and gents, that was Michael Pedersen, third place finisher of the sprint race. We'll hope to have him back after the feature race. And speaking of feature race, we're going to leave you, ladies and gents, for a few minutes while we do a server switch. Because we're forced to do so, because there's no other way to put up these races. So a few minutes it's gonna be a short break. It'll be perfect for running to the kitchen for snacks, perfect for visiting the little house, the restroom if you will, perfect for doing all sorts of small things in between. I'll crank up the music and I'll make sure we come back in full force for the feature race in just a few minutes indeed. Of course, if you like what we do here on Simracersworld, leave us a like, and if you want to see more, you feel free to subscribe now. As I said, just a few minutes and we will be back for 45 minutes of additional action here from Imola. So stay. What did you used to say? Don't touch that dial, I think is what they used to say on the radio. Not much radio about this, but right back we will be.
We're reaching for the stars. We're making this too hard, and I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Reaching for the stars. I wonder where you are. I've been holding on for so long, I can't remember why.
Welcome back, everyone, to the feature race, the second part of the program for tonight, if you will. 45 minutes of additional racing to be had here from the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, better known as Imola. Trying my best to give you an authentic Italian vibe here. I had a pizza for dinner. And, oh, sorry, I'll stop wandering around on this. I'll just make it worse, won't I? I still got Markus Gjesdal by my side. And with the top 10 being switcherooed around, if you will, I believe we're in for another very interesting 45 minutes here.
Yeah, I did not have pizza tonight, but I did have dinner, which was fairly Scandinavian to say so myself. But getting ready then for the second race of this amazing series so far. Racing 2 races every 2 weeks, so really filling in the off weeks here with the 2 races. The feature race then coming up in just a few minutes time. We're waiting for the warm-up to end, which is pushed back a little bit due to some server technical difficulties, but sorted that out right, and we're getting ready now to see drivers like Michael Pedersen, Sam Baxter, Paul Gosling, Ben Llewellyn, and John Barnes fighting it out here. And we're in for a treat here with this strategic element. And Hasse, how do you think it will affect the race at Imola?
It's a good question. We're going to see drivers not having any sort of clear air ahead. A driver like Ed May is really going to have to fight yet again. And we saw a very chaotic start to the race last time around. So we'll have to see how it goes. It's going to be interesting, but hopefully we can get a clean start, even though there's going to be a bit of a pace difference still around the top 10 there. The tire wear is going to mean quite a lot, I think, as well in the end. 15 minutes is quite a lot. It's quite a long time. It can really make the difference. If you finish the sprint race on worn rubber, chances are that drivers that still have life left in their tires will be able to do quite a bit better. So let's see how it all pans out. I'm intrigued.
Really excited for this one. Michael Patterson then out here finishing up his practice laps. You're not supposed to be doing that in the race there, Michael. You and him had a small Danish chat as well at the end of the interview, bringing some Scandinavian culture into this otherwise very full of British drivers, this field.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I had to. It's rare that I get to actually speak to another Dane in this world of commentary here. So, oh, and there we have. Apologies for not getting the team name with the simracinglove.com Volante Racing right before, but we got it now, and all should be sorted. So apologies on that. But anyway, it's nice to see fellow Danes racing. We are actually a strong nation. I think all the Scandinavian nations are indeed, Markus. When I look about, I see quite a number of quick Danes, quick Swedes, and quick Norwegians. I think especially there are some very quick Norwegians. There are some more or less purely Norwegian series being run out there at a blistering pace as well, which is of course impressive as well. But then again, we're living in a part of the world where through the winter we just don't get that much daylight, do we? So we need some kind of indoor activity, and sim racing is one of the very best indoors activities you could do. So no wonder it's gathering popularity in our part of the world.
Fairly cold here in Norway. We got snow outside the windows as well as on the streets. So having this sunny Imola evening tonight is really helping with my psyche, if you could say it like that. I don't have to go to the liquor store after this broadcast to still stay sane for the next 2 months of winter, basically.
So we're actually having some of the coldest temperatures that we've had in years in Denmark, with the temperatures of day temperatures down to minus 5-6 degrees, and it doesn't sound like much when you're a Norwegian. I know that because you get it quite a lot cooler up there. But for us, and especially since we've had some very mild winters over the last few years, now it's a proper winter. It's getting really cold, and we're gonna have continuous frost for the next week or so. And again, I don't really remember having that for quite a few years here, so it's gonna be nice with a bit of snow to break up all the rain and the sleet, and to let it leave and let it be white and beautiful. I could imagine for you, Markus, you don't think it's white and beautiful anymore. You just think it's pretty damn annoying, don't you?
It's pretty damn annoying, but I think we should leave the weather forecast up to the professionals, and then as professionals ourselves, we can look at the frost and the coolness of the drivers who we are supposed to be watching now, duking it out for the feature race. 50% fuel cap then, which is going to add a strategic element to this next one. And it'll be like a Joker lap in Rallycross, basically, where it will be a strategic element to an otherwise short race. 50 minutes isn't that long, but it will still be long enough to make plenty of mistakes on a track like this. That will be absolutely the decider for where you want to end up. As you see practice then rounding off as well.
So here we have it. We should have the grid order ready to display. Here it is. David Fuller, pole position ahead of Andrew Lufsey, John Barnes, James Salt, Bud Boland, Greg Franks, Andrew Hubley, Michael Pedersen, Seb Hebra, and Edward May. Of course, the top 10 being reversed from the sprint race. And then following the finishing order, we got Paul Cook, Jeremy de Boever, and I shall quickly scroll down the grid here for C. Nils Manchanten, Nelson Inacio, they're 14th. Sam Baxter starting in 15th place. So more uphill struggle for him as he'll try to recover from that position. They're 16th, Paul Gosling, Will Hunt, first of the bronze drivers and 17th overall. Then Luke Schneider, James R. Hall, Philip Hopley, Ben Llewellyn, who had a very, very close fight with Philip Hopley in the sprint race. Then Dirk Reski, Bradley Brockies, Hassan Arafat. We've got Sandro Ballesteros, we've got Stuart Musselwhite in 26th, then Ian Roots, Gavin Thomas, Paul King, and James Hopton. And I believe, Markus, that rounds off the field for the feature race.
I believe you are right, and nobody's starting in the pit this time as well. Dirk Reski did that for the last event, and he ended up pretty far up in the bronze field. So worked well for the German. And then, as we see the field of 30 cars getting ready to start this next one as well. Actually, I'm seeing Ian Roots. He's not actually on the grid at the moment, so we might have a second non-starter tonight. Hopefully that will sort itself out. As we see the grid then getting ready to start for the second time this evening. David Fuller on pole position. Andrew Lovesey on the second place in the first row. Getting ready then on the start. We have a car in the grass already there. 68 as well, out there cutting some grass. And the field is brought into the line very, very slowly here from our pole sitter. And he's waiting until the very last second before he wants to release them. And there they go. The green flag is out. All the lights are lit. And the guys are about to race down into turn 1. Tamburello, 4 wide in the back there. And they're all going to have to figure out where they want to be getting into the first turn here. Oh, there's a crash.
Oh, it's gone massively wrong.
It's a huge pile up then into Tamburello. A lot of drivers involved. And this is for sure going to have huge championship implications.
Edward May is caught up. He was the driver who was getting crossed around there. And Michael Pedersen, I'm afraid this is as well. Oh my word! So at least
start seeing all the ways around here. They're upside down, backwards. I don't even know who's where in this field anymore, Hasse.
That's a very good question here. I'm just gonna see if we can find the earliest bits and bobs of the incident and have another look at just what happened. Here it is. Here it is. So you see Ed May. Yeah, he clips the grass. Indeed he does. He gets across the field. But Michael Pedersen was ahead of this. He gets a tap there from, and is that Andrew Lovesey in the 12 car, I think it is, who turns him around.
And also all crashing by themselves in the back there. The 42 was taken out by someone, or took out someone. Don't know what happened there yet, but for sure, this was a huge downside for a lot of drivers. Edward May as well, very positive after the first race victory. That's definitely not how he wanted to start the second race.
Oh, that's very, very, very unlucky to say the least. The drivers here will be happy though they have a fast repair, but they'll have to keep it running for some time before they can go in and get it. But David Fuller's got a perfect start here, leading Andrew Lovesey. John Barnes in third place at the moment before James Salt, the top running gold driver at the moment, ahead of Bud Bowl and Seb Hebera. And Sam Baxter is up into 7th place. He's gone through half of the field with that incident. Oh, he's made contact with the 211. And that's Hebera.
Going back downwards again. He's found it. And he's back on the road, 4 tires on the asphalt, which is where you're supposed to have these tires. But I think we need to start talking about this start again, Hasse, because our pole sitter and the guy who's leading right now, David Fuller, he was bringing the field very, very slowly up to the starting line. And he didn't do anything illegal by doing that. But it's very typical that people in iRacing tend to go a little bit earlier than they should. And you see a lot of jinkling and jolting in the field already before the start is even gone. Some drivers are already being 4 wide before they coming into the first brake zone. So this definitely put a lot of pressure on a lot of guys thinking that the start had gone and then having to back themselves up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. We could see the implications just on this replay. The onboard shot from Seb Hebera gave us a very good idea of just how close everyone was. And around the top end of the field there, as you can see, 4 wide with Ed May on the outside of that. And I think he got a little scared in that situation, which might have helped him get that tire on the grass. And under braking, if you do that, it's game over. Andrew Lovesey's in a very good position, though. On the tail of David Fuller, here is James Salt. And he's fighting John Barnes for 3rd overall. The Evo SR driver is doing a good job here at the moment. Seems to have a good run here. Down towards the Tamburello chicane. He looks towards the inside, but it's just
there's a crash in front as well. There's a crash in front. That's Andrew Lovesey as well, going sideways there into Tamburello. Gathers his back up again though. So he's still running second here, but he's going to get pressure from John Barnes and James Salt, seeing this opportunity arise in front of them.
Yeah, indeed. You see just, James Salt very close here. 4th place. Is that going to be made into 3rd in total? Yes, it is. And Barnes, didn't
even have to run him off the road there. Tried to pass him. For those of you who remember the Michael Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya incident, these guys figuring it out just fine. But I want to talk about a different driver here, Hasse. Paul King And he's a good example of how quick things can change in sim racing. This guy had the crash with Gavin Thomas in the opening race, where he ended up being the different way around, or the opposite way around, speaking English more grammatically. And he's made up 19 places now since the start, up into P10. So there's definitely opportunities here for the driver for the number 26 car.
Indeed, and look at this here, a challenge for the 211 car of Sepp Hebera, with a crunched rear end as well. And now he's got Will Hunt, who's in 6th place here on his debut round. Will Hunt for Abruzzi, RLR Abruzzi Esports in the 21 car. That's a good-looking machine as well, if you ask me. He's doing very well so far to keep Hebera behind him. Hebera, the experienced German, will know that the opportunity will arise here. And I think that Spot Boland, who's also racing for Simracersworld Esports, very much getting in the mix there. Now they're all swerving about. Oh, look at this!
Will Hunt again, defending perfectly. I mean, he drives very mature, and it really does come to show that he is a real-life racing car driver. I didn't know it at the time, but it really comes through right now. This guy knows perfectly well where he needs to put his car, try to keep these guys behind him. Not going very fast doing it, but still maintaining position into P6 at the moment. Oh, look at that. Seb as well on the outside of Tosa. Is he going to do it? Gets on his quarter paddle there, gets the undercut, but he has to watch. They're almost 3 wide here coming up.
What defensive driving here from Will Hunt. You can see he just kind of parked it on the apex just about long enough to stop the car behind Sepp Hebera from having the cutback opportunity. And you can see that's the kind of racecraft that's making him bunch up. But he knows 6th place overall is going to be a huge point haul for a bronze driver. And he can be perfectly happy with this situation. He's at a track where he can defend for his life. Although he has to do so for 45 minutes. It's going to be a tough one indeed. He's got a 4-car train, and that's building all the time behind him. And this is going to be an interesting one to watch.
Sam Baxter is going to be very, very happy about being in front of him now. Look at this defending that he is pulling out for the guys behind him. Seb Herber then trying to make the best of it. He needs to try the same thing that Sam Baxter did in race 1. Oh, and they touch! They touch! Sam Baxter and Seb Herber, they're both off the track right now into the 2 last corners of the circuit. Here we see it again. Seb Herber trying to make it past there and commits for the inside too late. Didn't expect Will Hunt to stay in the middle of the track there, and they hit each other by the looks of it. And that's both of them on the extrusion outside of the last turns here.
Indeed, that's poor luck if ever I've seen it. And just slightly outbraking himself there, I'm afraid, Seb Hebera. And now look at this, Andrew Lovesey. Andrew Lovesey, who at that huge moment before is still ahead of James Salt. Who's still ahead of, still ahead. He got past John Barnes relatively easily there before. And then Sam Baxter in 5th place. Could be his race yet again. Sam Baxter had a very strong race in the feature race last time out. Really seems to be on a charge. He knows he needs to pick up points. But his championship rivals are in a dire position further back the order. And this is a golden opportunity for him to pick back some of what he lost in the feature race here. And he's trying to do just about that. We're 8 minutes into this one. And down here, Michael Pedersen is up the inside of Sandro Ballesteros, and he's gone through. He's gone past up into 17th overall. That's a lot of making up and coming back to do here from Michael Pedersen. And he's certainly set his sights on a big group of cars up ahead. Let's see what he can make out of this one. He's already on a run there to Gavin Thomas up ahead. And he's going to try to see if he can make a move into Aqua. No, that's not Aqua Minerale, I'm sorry. That's the Variante Alta. All about getting the run here out of this one, though. If he can get it down towards the Ravazzas, he'll be just about able to sneak up past. Let's see the Quantum car really hugging the inside here. Michael Pedersen's gonna have to go wide. No, he's not. And here he comes. Look at the
outside as well, Seb. He's got company there. They're 2 wide, 2 rows deep here, coming into the last 2 corners.
It's going to be another opportunity for Michael Pedersen there. I think he gets a much better run than the Quantum car and Seb Hebera as well. And they might go 3 wide at the end of this. Look at Michael Pedersen. He's gonna go for the end of the middle.
You're right, Hasse. They're 3 wide. They're 3 wide going into the Tamburellos. And Michael is actually getting some speed out of this. He's almost cleared all of them. He is! Michael Pedersen has passed everyone into T1. What amazing driving from the Dane.
Oh, and he's gonna take another position here.
Oh, yes, again coming in the back.
Oh, he squeezes in Tamburello. Michael Pedersen That's 5 places within 15, 20 seconds. And it's brought me to the edge of screaming, bringing the action here, the Dane, the Gold driver, up into 13th place already after an abysmal start. And now he's looking to regain what regain can be. And if he keeps on like this, he'll be well in the top 10. He'll be in the top 10. Oh, there's a problem. Paul Gosling and John Barnes has had a problem as well. So this is John Barnes. This is an Aqua Minerale, a spinner. And then John Barnes, teammate of his. Oh.
Do you think that was a mutual agreement over the Discord chat from them to spin out at the same time?
I think there was a certain Matteo Benotto coming through there. Oh, he's blinking and then he gets hit while blinking, I'm afraid. That looks very, very weird to me. But indeed a moment where you could believe there had been a spin out on the team radio, maybe, Lord knows. James R. Hall is currently defending from another James, which is indeed James Hupton. And they have another, like James Hupton, as I said before, he's had a team name called Will Hunt. And Hunt certainly goes like a Hunt should go on a racetrack. He's doing very well for himself. And Last Minute Racing tells us in chat, Will Hunt has only done 3 official races in iRacing. 3 official races, and he's racing like this. It's incredible indeed. 10th place at the moment for Will Hunt, and doing a sterling job so far, it has to be said.
Goes to show that he is no e-racer in any kind of way. The moves he's putting on these guys are unknown for a lot of them. Used to racing on iRacing all the time. Really mature racing from Will Hunt, and really looking forward to see him getting more used to the simulator and what he can do when he gets some more hours on the rig. 3 official races, that's almost nothing, and then he drives the way he does tonight, which is absolutely amazing to look at.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I would not have expected that in any sort of way. Oh, that's Paul Cook for Fury. Was going to lose 2 positions after going deep into Aqua Minerale. And that's Greg Franks and Paul King. So the 2 Pauls close. And Paul King saying thank you very much. By the way, that's the very same Paul King who started at the back end of the field, currently in 8th place. Sam Baxter's gotten past on John Barnes as well. He's up into 4th and is now on the tail of James Salt here, knocking on the rear door, you could say, of the podium places. That is that's absolutely impressive. Sam Baxter, what a drive so far in this race. But we got close battles galore further down here. Michael Pedersen's gained another 2 positions, and he's gotten past. We're gonna have to check this out.
Will Hunt as well in the leading group here. He has the will to hunt, if you can say it like that. Race car driver throughout and through. Will Hunt then, who is trying to get into P9 here in top 10 at the moment for Will Hunt, who has Michael Pedersen, who's the next car behind him. So they're about a second away from each other. So that could be a fight that will materialize and definitely give us some iRacing worthy mentions on the official website, if anyone cared to send in the clips. John Barnes then in the 777, which we are watching right now, having contact with Bod Bolan. Coming into the last few corners of this track, heading up to the Varianta Alta chicane, which we also get a clip from right now. And this is Seb Herber again, who's touched the car in front of him and then gets the return from the Gavin Thomas immediately.
And he loses a position as well. Here's John Barnes with Bud Bolan for company. Michael Pedersen, look at this. He's having to pass Will Hunt now.
Here we go. Gloves are off, guys. Will Hunt, who's been driving absolutely relentlessly on the defensive driving, but he has given the room where he needs to, and not more than that, which is just the way you have to race these cars, especially on a track like Imola. So Michael then, who was very used to the P-Cup races in the Danish Nationals in sim racing, he's actually underneath him now. They both give each other plenty of space, and definitely Michael's going to have the better run out here for sure. Side drafting going down into the front stretch, flashing his lights there, trying to get some more power to his engine. I don't see any other reason why he would flash the lights, because Wilhan would not budge for that, for sure. On the outside then for Tamburello. Wilhan on the inside. Michael is on the outside. Who's going to come out here with the leading edge? Oh, it's a touch there as well, and he knocked Wilhan out of the road. Michael Pedersen is passed up into P10.
Michael Pedersen's continuing on. I think that was the slightest of touches, but it's been at a dear cost, I'm afraid, for Will Hunt, who's lost a lot of positions there, and who's now fallen down into second just about as he finds James Hall, who goes off, and Will Hunt keeps the lead of the bronze class, at least you could say for Will, who's fallen down the order since he sat in 6th place early in this race. And can you believe that 15 minutes of this race has already passed? We're a third of the way through a 45-minute race. I feel like we're 3 minutes into it. It's been relentless on pace so far. Look at this here. Andrew Lovesey having to defend now from James Salt, who's also having to defend in a very short amount of time from Sam Baxter. But I think Sam Baxter's playing the long game here, Markus. He looks to be very cool, calm, and collected, and he knows from 2 weeks ago that the tires will be a key part, and to keep them alive for this one is going to be so important. I think he'll be happy to just sit behind here and attack at a later date.
Obviously, you can go and shift tires when you're in the stop, but that'll take you a lot longer time than just taking fuel. But you've hit the nail on the head right there. Speaking about the tires, he burnt it up on Silverstone 2 weeks ago. He has to try and maintain this one, and had a horrible opening lap. Maybe he'll be able to gain something back, as we see Dirk Reski as well going into the wall. One of our commentators on YouTube who wondered how he ended his race, and that's the result of a quick off-track excursion. Back then again to this 3Y fight that we see here with Sam Baxter, James Salt, and Andrew Lovesey. These guys are racing tail-to-tail, bumper-to-bumper, and these guys are now going up to the last corners of this track, the most technical part of this track for sure. Andrew then having to keep his head completely cool to try and secure this second place overall finish. Second place also in silver class. It's kind of fun to see that the silver class, which is actually graded lower than gold, is consistently in front of the gold drivers.
Yeah, there might be some shuffling around to do in the before or after the next round, which we'll see a few drivers promoted, a few drivers maybe even demoted, and a more balanced field, so to say, in terms of passes, at least here. Tom McMahon saying, "Let's go, Salty." I love that as a nickname for James Salt. Oh, and I've been trying to hold back for so long on not making the pun. It seems someone has gotten well ahead of me there already here, as we're on board with Sam Baxter from the nose cam, prime position to see what plays out ahead of him as well. At the moment is James Salt, though, looking more so as if having to defend from this very driver than trying to attack Andrew Lovesey in front. And it's actually a close quarters fight against these three here as well. That's Bud Boland, John Barnes, and Greg Franks in the 99 machine. Oh, and Franks gets a great run there from Tamburello, but he's not going to do anything with it because he can't. You'd be absolutely bonkers to try an overtaking move there in Villeneuve. I guess you can, but you need to be really well clear there. Almost had it into Tosa, I thought. It looked as if Greg Franks could have had something to do there, but wasn't to be.
I was expecting that from him into Tosa, but he's showing himself now in his mirrors. He's still waiting here, which is probably the smartest move. It's not a good ideal place to pass right before a straightaway. It will expose you a lot, and you might get a return. Depends on the driver you're passing, of course, as well, which is it's a huge benefit for a lot of these drivers who are here tonight, since they all know each other and race with each other every 2 weekends, or every 2 weeks, I must say. They know each other and the way they drive, and they get to know each other's style, and that is very benefit to when they're in two-way fights like this, or three-way fights as well, which we've been seeing. Dave Fuller then, who's still leading on this race in his silver glass car. brought the field up to a very slow start, but is leading on very well right now. James Salt going into the pits as well for our first mandatory stop of tonight. And how do you think this strategy will work out for Mr. Salty himself?
It's relatively early to come in, but he might just be feeling held up ever so slightly by Andrew Lovesey, and maybe he just wouldn't want to spend too much time fighting off Sam Baxter as well, because he probably reckons that his own race is going to be ruined by fighting a driver who might just be that little bit quicker than himself. And as such, I think it might be a good decision to try and bring himself into some clean air where he can just put in his lap times, because they are indeed fast enough. Here is Sam Baxter into Tosa, goes up the inside of Andrew Lovesey. Oh, that was a late move, and it's not over yet because they're side-by-side exiting here up towards the left-hander. That's going to take them down towards Acqua Minerale, and I think Andrew Lovesey's got the better of the runs here, but he's got the outside line for the next two corners. It's going to be difficult to make him stick out there. Oh, but he does.
Side-by-side as well, this here. This is amazing, this fight, Hasse. This is amazing. Look at Sam as well, sideways there.
Sam Baxter around the outside at the kink at Acqua Minerale. That's absolute world class. And let's have another look at that one, because that was a
Oh, this is not over yet, though, Hasse. This is not over yet. They're still tail to tail with each other. Look at this. These guys are racing hard, and Andrew, who's a little slower than Sam at the moment, he wants to stay with him, for sure. But it's a very good point, actually, as well. Regarding the other pit stop, it was James Salt who he watched go into the stop. And getting an undercut as well could be very beneficial to him trying to get past Andrew, making the pass in the stop instead of on the track. Look at Andrew as well, taking all the curbs on the inside there, trying to keep with him.
That was a beautiful overtake there for second place by Sam Baxter, really making it count. Oh my word. And he's now chasing down David Fuller, who's sitting on an 8.2 second advantage. And that's surely going to be because of all the fighting. Here's Paul Cook finding another Paul. It's the two Pauls. It's King and Cook. And it's the King ahead of the Cook at the moment. And what will the Cook have in his pants? In his pants, in his pants.
I think we have some news here, Hasse. Will Hunt, our iRacing rookie, he was in for his stop at the same time as James Holt, but he was in there for quite a significant longer time, and there's a possibility that Will Hunt has taken tires and fuel and has as such had a longer pit stop than his peers.
That might very well be it. I deem that to be a good possibility here. I think Paul Cook's going past on Paul Kink here, so there certainly was something cooking here, if you will, and he's served the dish to go through. And I think
he's definitely turned up here for these guys at 11.
A nice little Spinal Tap reference. I see what you did there, Markus. Beautiful indeed here. James Hall, Team Ebrit, on the tail of Luke Schneider. This is the battle for the lead positions in bronze at the moment. So I'll just bring you up the class displays, and I'll make sure that for the next one we'll have the typing up there in another color so you can actually see it. But just for some reason it shows silver as the top class, then gold, then bronze. But gold is, of course, you can see it as a podium as well. With gold,
it is a podium.
The middle step, and then silver and bronze. That's probably why. But I think it's not gonna be hard to understand the order of gold, silver, and bronze. So I'm not even gonna go into explaining this, because I expect my audience to be well in on this one. To be sure. Of course, if you are in doubt, I apologize to let us know in chat, and I should explain. I'm just not expecting to have to. Back to the serious stuff here. James Hall coming in for his pit stop from what was 13th place. So is Bud Boland and Michael Patterson, who's in just over the halfway point of the race here. We've got just over 20 minutes to go. Oh, look at this here. John Barnes and Greg Frank side by side. Markus and John Barnes stays ahead, I think. He does. But just about here.
Oh, he's really holding on right now, John Barnes, in his 777 Quantum machine. He's got Greg Franks, as he said, who's really keeping on now. Good exit there. Looking on the inside of Alta. Hits the apexes perfectly as well, and much better as well than John Barnes. Is going to already take the position in front of John Barnes here, coming into the 2 last corners of Imola. What is the last 2 corners names of this track called again? Rivazza, yes, of course. Oh, 2 cars!
Oh, wow.
2 cars!
What is that?
Off the track.
Paul Gosling and Dirk Retzky have found themselves. That is huge damage to Paul Gosling's car. We'll need a better view of what happened. Here it comes.
Oh no. This is the same thing we saw with Will Hunt, isn't it? No, it's not. This is a different story.
That is huge. He lost the rear on the braking there. Have a look here in slow motion up.
Martin in our commentators field in YouTube is going to be very upset about this one for sure. It looks like Paul hasn't set the car up perfectly, getting on the brakes here. So when he steps on the brake pedal, the entire rear end wants to come with it. So this is why you need to try and make sure that your car is straight every time you get into braking zones like this. And unfortunately, it ended the worse for Dirk in this one skirmish.
Yeah,
We're also getting very close to the end of this race as well, and what a race it's been so far, Hasse.
Very much so, and after 25 minutes, just under 20 minutes to go of this one, we've got David Fuller leading Sam Baxter, 7.3 seconds. That gap is certainly coming down there. Then Andrew Lufsey, Greg Franks, and John Barnes, who's here in 5th place ahead of Paul Cook, Paul King, and James Hutton as well. And then the bronze leader at the moment, who I believe has yet to pit, but so is all the other leaders. Luke Schneider is doing a very, very good job for LS Racing TV. And the 150 car here, the German, a very good-looking car as well. And he might that be a Holy Cow? It seems like a Holy Cow racing livery to me. So if there's a team name update that I haven't really seen there, I do apologize. I'll make sure to get that fixed. But I mentioned the Holy Cow racing machines before, and hadn't gone from something that I believe started out as a bit of a joke. They've gone to make themselves a very, very, very good-looking car.
Oh, another car is off the track as well there. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did.
In the I'm not sure who that was. It's James Hobden. But Gavin as well was getting a huge closing run there, getting ever closer. Luke Schneider went into the pits. So no drama for this incident that we saw here. That was just a quick skirmish off the track by himself. So no drama. Luke Schneider then going into the pit for the mandatory stop that we have here, getting a fast repair as well. And it's a good thing that we have these huge shunts in the start of the second race instead of the start of the first race, because now at least these guys have the opportunity to reset their car.
Yeah, the fast repair is going to be very, very gainful for him here as well. Yeah, taking tires is a bit of a surprise, I have to say here. Michael Pedersen's back running. Let's see if there anyone ahead. Hassan Arafak, who's ahead of Michael Pedersen, has yet to make his pit stop. But so has the positions 1 through 9 at the moment. No, sorry, 1 through 8. First through 8 at the moment has still to make a pit stop. My apologies, by the way, on Luke Schneider. As you can see, he's right about there. Luke, it says on his... I'm a little bit... Why does it say Luke? It's supposed to say Schneider. Unless he, of course, wants to just be called Luke. It doesn't really make any sense when looking at my
Do not
data.
ask me, Hasse.
No, I won't, but I fixed it, so now it tells us he's racing for the team. He is indeed racing for Holy Cow Racing in that beautiful 150 machine. Indeed, joining in 23rd place. Oh, and we got a pit round here. David Fuller, Andrew Lufsey, John Barnes, and Sam Baxter. Sam Baxter, look at that! He's jumping everyone in the pits.
Virtually in the lead as well. Paul King is still circulating, but he has to come in for his stop very shortly. But that's going to be huge news for Sam, who's now actually virtually leading this race in P1 for the feature.
Yeah, indeed, perfect position to be in here for Sam Baxter, using the pit stop. And we mentioned it earlier, it looked like he was sort of holding back a little bit. And it might just have been that he did so because he's spent a lot less time in the pits than any of the competitors, and feeling confident that he can bring home the car with a bit of lifting and coasting here and there maybe over the last just over 15 minutes of racing here. Michael Pedersen passing another car in the pits.
How excited would you be if you had a 28 position gain on your position gain notification? Has Paul King from all the way to the bottom end of the field up to first at the moment, leading this race. Hasn't stopped yet, that being said, but still a massive, a monumental gain for the Briton.
Oh, but that's huge, and it really shows just how good a race it's been for him. It's been absolutely brilliant so far. He'll be hoping he can keep it up here. Let's see what kind of position he rejoins in. He was in a good position around the top 10, around those top spot fights in the end, and he'll probably be there as he exits as well. He'll be able to take his fast repair if he has any small bumps or dents hereabouts in the car. And
he's ready to get out as well, revving the engine, not taking any tires here. A lot of people forgot about that, I think. There's a little box on iRacing which you need to check, or uncheck rather, to avoid taking 4 tires. Doing that in these GT class cars will enable a full service pit stop, and it's very lengthy. It has to be done in the same procedure as you do in real life, which means you have to do fuel first and then tires. So if you're unlucky and do tires, you'll have to sit there for a long time because they do 2 and 2 tires at the same time. They don't do 4 tires at once like they do in Formula 1.
Good point here. Paul Cook comes out ahead, or Paul King comes out behind. You could probably say it's a little more precise. Behind Paul Cook. They had a good fight before. They'll be duking it out yet again here. Coming into the last 10 minutes of the race. I think it's about time that we give you a run-through of the top 10 because it's changed quite a bit here. Sam Baxter is our race leader by almost 5 seconds down to James Salt. Then Andrew Lovesey in 3rd, Bud Boland in 4th. Then Greg Franks for H Motorsports in 5th place. John Barnes for Quantum in 6th. We got Paul Cook in 7th for Fury. We got Paul King in 8th for Ignium Motorsports. And then Michael Pedersen, who's really making his way back through the field. He's up into 9th place after that lap 1 incident that left him at the very, very, very far end of the field. He's fought through everything, and he's led us with some amazing scenes on his way through. There was some full-on action there from Michael Pedersen. Some of the most intense overtaking moments of the series so far. That he,
I have to say as well, Hasse, the 3-wide pass into Tabarel was probably one of my favorite moves in sim racing so far. I haven't seen anyone do that successfully before. I've seen plenty of dumb moves that look immaculately spectacular, but has ended in the same way. But the move that Michael put on them, it really shows that he has a lot of experience through sim racing, and it was perfectly executed. He knew where he wanted to be 2 corners after the move, and did a very good job at doing so. As well, Paul King, 21 position gains. Even after that stop, he's still very far up for the field from where he started, so a monumental gain there for the British Paul King, driver of the number 26 BMW. Absolutely amazing series this has. I'm really looking forward to 2 weeks' time. We're going to get race 5 and 6 here.
Yeah, very much so. I can't wait. It's been absolute gold so far. It's been really good. Oh, Luke Schneider's had a problem here. We're going to see here. What's been the deal for the 150 machine? Just gets a bit of grass there on the entrance to Aqua Minerale. But there is plenty of runoff. That's that one place on this track where there is actually really just plenty of runoff. And
I'll give him a 10 out of 10 out of Formula Drifting points there.
Yeah, a lot of style points coming in from me as well here.
Too bad for him though. This is GT racing, not Formula Drift. And we have another fight here. Bradley Brookes and Stuart Musselwhite, and we've seen so many fights end in the grass or in the barriers into the Tamburellos, but these guys, they get through it fine.
Yeah, indeed. Here comes Seb Hebra up the inside of his teammate. Hebra on Musselwhite. That's not going to be hard fought, I think. No, and Hebra is going to see if he can claim back a few positions here, but he's been hit today, it has to be said. It's worth noting out Edward May 12th place at the moment. So given that he was so far back as well after that early incident, he's recovered quite well and is currently trying to pick off Gavin Thomas up ahead in the Quantum car. And if he can pick up David Fuller at the moment, he'll be climbing into the top 10. It's a gap of 6.4 seconds to make up. Got about 10 minutes to do so. It's got a tough ask, but it's going to be possible. Oh, here Paul King now having to defend from Michael Pedersen. And Michael's had a lot of moves up his sleeve today, so let's see if he's got any more surprises for us. And one of those drivers that seem to be able to pull off overtakes in places where no one else really seems to be able to do it. It doesn't always work for Michael, but when it does, it is spectacular. Paul King gets a very poor run there, and Michael is going to have his way open on the outside down into Tosa there. And he takes 8th place and more important championship points on his comeback. But it has to be said, Markus, that if it stays like it is right now, the big winner of the feature race here is going to be Sam Baxter.
No doubt, that strategy you pulled off in the pit stops was absolutely perfect stint throughout and through, especially considering the incident in the start, who really put the end for a lot of guys. I didn't even count how many cars were in the grass there after that. I mean, see another car off in the grass in front of Will Hunt, and that is Stuart Musselwhite, who's muscling his way onto the track again. Look at Will Hunt again, trying to put his real world expertise to the words. Oh, he's in the grass! And he just knocks the air out of Bradley Brookes. That'll hurt if that happened in real life.
Oh, poor Will Hunt there just gets a slight bit onto the grass as he's trying to turn in. He has to correct. That correction brings him onto the grass, and that grass gets him sliding into Bradley Brookes' car, and there's nothing he can do about it. Absolutely a passenger there.
It has to be said, though. I'm certain Will Hunt is smiling from ear to ear. This is his first league race, as far as I know. His 4th iRacing race. Probably done plenty of practice rounds, but this guy is probably out here just enjoying himself. No money has to be used on the car's repairs after this, and I think that goes for everyone. They're very lucky about that, especially considering the pileup in T1.
Yeah, indeed, that is. I've heard several organizers, league organizers and such, talking about using different systems of implementing ways of actually having to pay very small fees for damage, but if it's like €2 for body panels or €10 for an engine or something like that, you know, you're gonna be much more careful of just how you behave, I'd say.
Personally, I'd probably still use my money as much as this was worth, banging out every single panel on my car, and I think Will Hunt is the same. This is all about trying to get in front of everyone else and be the best driver, and that's how racing should be in my mind.
Yeah, and, I agree. I very much agree. I also think for all those of us who pay the monthly subscription on iRacing, pay for all the content, etc., that's often enough. I think it's enough investment, considering you throw in all the sim gear and the PC and the monitor and the headset and blah 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 blah. On top of that,
the headset. You use a headset, not monitors or speakers like a lot of people do.
I use a headset when driving.
I love when you're racing with other people and you hear the engine roar from their speakers. Actually, that's a lie. It's the worst thing ever. Like, use the headset if you can, especially if you're on Discord.
It's horrible, right?
Oh,
here comes Hebra. Seb Hebra is looking for a way past the car of Hassan Adefak, the Dutchman ahead, who for AR Racing is defending the 340 machine. Very good job so far, but Seb Hebra must be a little frustrated about sitting 18th in this race at the moment. He's gonna be worse off of all the drivers who's in the championship fight at the moment.
You know this better than me, Hasse. What is it like with drop weeks and stuff regarding this series, and what can you tell our viewers about it?
I actually don't remember, but I will read up on it very quickly, and I'll have an answer before the end of the race.
Anyways, while you read up on it, I'll take you guys through this fight right now. Sebastian Heber and Hassan Adefak, Dutch versus German drivers, coming through the last or the middle sector here. Everything's last corner here for me, apparently. But at least a good fight that these guys are putting up here. Sebastian Herber and Hassan Arafag. Car 340. The blue BMW is about to get passed here from the neighbor countryman. Sebastian Herber in the 211 Simracersworld Esports. Trying to get the slipstream up here towards the last few corners. Actually have a track map as well of this. They're up on the way to Piratella. Down into Acqua Minerali. As you stated earlier, Hasse, I completely forgot about which name this was. Bumper to bumper, these guys on their way up to the last chicane of this track, this 5-kilometer track in Italy, in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy, just a few kilometers off from the small city of Imola. Actually, quite a far away from San Marino, so you must wonder why it's actually called the San Marino Grand Prix back in the days.
It was just to call it something, I think, because they already had the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Oh, getting very close is Sepp Hebra here. 5 minutes to go, and we'll have a look at race leader and just go through the running order at the moment. By the way, I did a bit of reading up, and there are 2 drop rounds from this series. And the drop round, interestingly so, consists, as far as I understand, of a feature race and a sprint race. So a drop round will deduct both of those points from the drivers, and a drop round is of course the 2 weakest races at the end will be deducted from the championship standings, and that allows drivers to have an off day without suffering, or to miss a round or 2 of the championship without suffering as well, which is something that I think a lot of drivers find very, very nice to have. Sam Baxter, he still leads James Salt, Andrew Lovesey, Bud Boland, and Greg Franks. The closest of the 2 will be, I think that's Frank's. I'm sorry, that's not Frank's. That's Lovesey and Boland, indeed. Separated by 0.7 of a second. Michael Patterson, though, here's catching up to Paul Cook within the final few minutes of the race, and he'll be looking to gain more positions. Here he's well within the slipstream. I don't think it's not going to be close enough to make anything happen into Tamburello, but he's going to be looking to set up a move as quickly as possible.
Very interesting, though, what you were saying. 2 drop rounds, not 1 drop week, which would imply that you could get a drop round unintentionally. And also, if you end up missing a week, that will automatically be your drop week or drop round.
It says a drop round is always a full round. That means
very close here.
Oh my word!
I think you actually hit him a little bit as well. Paul Cook and Michael Pedersen. You really fried him, if you could say it like that.
Yeah, and Cook goes wide as well on the exit of Villeneuve into Tosa there, but it stays as it is. So I'm just going to read up from the rule book here. A drop round is always a full round consisting of a consecutive sprint and feature race. This means that the weakest 2 rounds of the 8-round season will be dropped, both sprint and feature race result. So let's say if this was a drop round for someone, that would mean that both their sprint and feature race points would be dropped from it. Interestingly,
so at least there will be some heavy hearts after this round, especially considering the start of this race. But ultimately, it will all work in everyone's favor. There was a lot of guys taken out in the first shunt, but they're all back again, and we have to give a huge heads up, or not heads up, but a huge applaud to Michael Pedersen and Edward May and all of the other guys who were involved in this first shunt, who still made up a lot of positions.
Indeed, speaking of Ed May, we haven't seen much of him here in the feature race since the incident. He's flown under the radar. He's quietly been fighting his way back through the field. He's now on the tail of Gavin Thomas, and the Quantum Racing car might just prove, well, it all depends. He's got 2 minutes to get this done. It's going to be 2 laps, I think, if I'm not completely mistaken, although it might be close. Here's Sam Baxter. So we're on race lap 25. We're 43 minutes into this race out of 45 minutes that we've got to do, and that means that Sam Baxter is very, very, very certainly so coming towards the perfect end, you could say, of a race like this. Mind you, Marcus, he started in 15th place. He went through half of the field on the opening lap of the race to find himself leading after the round of pit stops, and from there on, he's kept it so smooth indeed. It's looking very good for Sam Baxter. By the way, Ed May has just posted the fastest lap so far of this race with a 1:43.62. And he's
You mentioned it. You mentioned it regarding Sam Baxter, who climbed through half the field in the start. As we see Edward May as well, defending or getting defended by the 48 here, backs out of it and doesn't get past just yet. But this fight is really heating up right now. Gavin Thomas is not being able to really keep him behind him. Every single time that Edward tries to make a move, he's still sucking back up again like a Bosch, a vacuum cleaner from IKEA. The 48 then into the last chicane and trying to still defend. Edward is probably going to wait until the last few corners to make an actual move, but we have to talk about Sam because he is the perfect example of how things can change in racing, just in general, not just virtual racing, but racing in general. This sort of thing could happen in your local national kart field or international kart field or in your actual national race where you do F4 and stuff, where half the field is taken out because of one small mistake from one of the other drivers. And it happens as much in real life as it does in virtual racing. And being able to capitalize on it really makes or breaks you as a driver sometimes.
Yeah, indeed. Michael Pedersen's brought the number 7 SimRacingLove.com Valencia racing car up into 7th place on the opening of the final lap here, I think. Here's Andrew Lovesey getting some close company as well from Bud Boland. And look at this now, Edward May and Gavin Thomas almost side by side, and they are! And they make contact! And they both go round! Edward May, that's going to be a heartbreak for both of them! And it's on the final lap, he swings it around.
Just take a toll there for Gavin. He's in the pits already. He's probably pissed as well. A little bit. A bit of pun there. That's not at all how Edward wanted to end that fight, that's for sure. Still desperate, trying to climb back up again through the spots. He started in 10th place, is one position away from that. And that's about as far as it's going to come, unfortunately, as Sam Baxter rounds out this feature race, wins it from 15th place, Hasse. What a climb from our British Sam Baxter. James Soul is probably going to be a little salty. He didn't get the pit stop correctly. Up into P2. Andrew Lovesey misses out on his second place where he started, but still a good show for Andrew. But Baldwin into P4 then. Greg Franks finishing P5. Waiting for John Barnes as well, coming into Tamburello. Michael Pedersen as well, our fellow Scandinavian, blinking his lights, showing off his proud race. Actually gained a spot as well. That's very strong after that first opening incident. Paul Cook, we find him here, deep fried a little bit into 8th. Paul King, P9, and David Fuller rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, indeed, and a great race. Another great one. I have to say, we were expecting it to be maybe a little shy on overtakes and on actual moves here, but I think that's been put to shame very much so here. Seb Heber has put it the fastest lap, by the way, and he's going to claim 16th place, although I think that might be ever so slightly disappointing for Seb. We've got the checkered flag out for pretty much every driver on track, and just a few more drivers will have to complete the race.
Is there an extra point for fastest lap in this series, Hasse? Do you know that?
Well, I know there are 2 points for finishing with a 0x.
There's a lot of people who are missing out on that one for this event, that's for sure. Oh, look at Will Hunt here.
Oh, Will Hunt!
He takes the old 90s layout here. The old Tamburello corner, not chicane. Almost junking his car here for a team photo by the looks of it. Hats off for the Abruzzi Esport racing team, who we see coming up here in a threesome.
Oh, it is great
Abruzzi
that we get
well.
the shot of this. Beautiful indeed.
Yeah, we can talk about this as well. Abruzzi, which is a series sponsor as well. Very happy about that. Race where they junk each other's cars. They sell racewear from a shop down in the UK, from what I could find on the interwebs at least. And actually named after Abruzzi, which is a region in Italy. I don't know if they actually looked at the region, but they're very coherent.
Beautiful indeed. Markus with the facts here, and I'm here with the results. Sam Baxter takes the feature race win Ahead of James Salt, Andrew Lovesey rounds off the podium, and then Bud Boland and Greg Franks join them in the top 5. John Barnes, Michael Pedersen, Paul Cook, Paul King, and David Fuller made it into the top 10. And just missing out of that is our booth colleague, if you will, Edward May, finishing in 11th ahead of James Hopton, Jeremy de Boever, and James R. Hall, Nelson Inacio, and Sebastian Heberer, the championship contender there in 16th place. It's going to be a disappointment for him, I'm afraid. Hasse Arafak, 17th, Luke Schneider, and further down, Sandro Ballesteros, it's Nils Manchanden, it's Will Hunt in 21st, and Stuart Musselwhite, Gavin Thomas, Philip Hubley, Ben Llewellyn, Bradley Brockis, Paul Gosling, and Dirk Reski, and Andrew Hubley and Ian Roots, I'm afraid. The unluckiest of souls in this race, and retiring. But that shouldn't take away from the pleasure that has been the great racing that we have seen so far. And I'm just going to take you through here. It's going to be the gold, or I thought it was going to be the gold race results, but never mind. We're going to hop straight on with the next bit here, which is going to be our race interviews. Should we be so lucky to have anyone joining us for a bit of a talk yet, which we of course hope. Let's have a look. It's oh indeed, here is race winning Sam Baxter. Sam, welcome to the booth. 15th to first in the feature race. Did you have any idea if that was going to be possible when you sat there on the grid?
I was quite surprised to get a win. No, I got lucky. There was a lot of carnage in front at the start, and that put me through up to sort of 7th or 8th. And I got lucky with a few more people going off early on. And then I had a good race with Andrew, and I think it might have been James Salt. Got very lucky to get past Andrew, pulled a good move off there, I think. And then James, I managed to jump in the pits. And do you know what happened to David Fuller? Because he was well out in the lead, and it looked like he took too much fuel or something in the stop.
I actually have information about this. Dave Fuller, he forgot to turn his pit limiter on when he get into the pits.
Oh no!
So that's why that ended.
Yeah, I wondered because I didn't think I was going to be able to make it up. I thought I might get close, but it was going to be tough. And I came out in front of him in the pit lane, and yeah, it was a really good result for me. Race 1, not so much. I was literally last at one point, so it could have gone better. But hey ho, that's how it goes sometimes.
But at least your direct championship rivals are also having had somewhat of a was just a feature race that was tough for them. So I think it's not going to be too much of an offset. And coming into this race, you were 3 drivers within 2 points in the championship standings. I think it's going to be equally close for the rest of the season.
I hope so. I've just taken a massive hit on incidents in the feature race. I'm hoping I can get some of them back because some of the incidents were perhaps a little bit protestable. But yeah, hopefully it can be close all the way. Especially like considering that I was literally last during lap 1 on the first race. You know, I feel like I can continue some strong results in future if I can win from pretty much all the way to the back. So yeah, hopefully it'll be close to the end.
Sam, incredible result. Congratulations on a beautiful win, 15th to first. That's worth remembering. Now, while we have you in the box and before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout or a thank you to?
Yeah, obviously to my 2 teammates, Paul Cook and Ed May. Obviously with Ed winning the first race. And obviously the rest of the team, Chris Warner, who unfortunately is not feeling too great tonight and isn't racing. Yeah, just that's about it. Thank you very much, guys.
Well, thank you for joining us here, and let's. I hope we'll have another good chance for a bit of a chat after the next round in 2 weeks, Sam. But pleasure joining us in, and thank you so much. Have a very good night.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Cheers, mate. So that was Sam Baxter, and now I'm gonna bring in another Brit, indeed, to have a word with Markus Gjesdal. Here's Andrew Lovesey.
Welcome to the booth then, Andrew. That is a good race for you, even though you lost that 1 position, but you're still the fastest silver driver in the field. But what do you feel about not finishing up on the second position?
Yeah, thanks, boys. I'll be honest with you, I'm dead happy with that result. I'm really happy to get a podium. I think my pace was okay throughout the race. It was a bit up and down for me. I could have probably had a snap at the lead on the first couple of laps, and then I messed it up and nearly spun it completely around in Samarello. Then I dropped back a bit. Then I let the boys pass. Then Tom got an undercut on me, so he came out of the pits, and I had the pace, I felt, to pass him for second, and then just made a couple of silly mistakes, and he got away again. But honestly, I'll take third all day long. I had a good night tonight.
It was a huge shunt for the guys in the back there. You avoided it by being up in the front from the sprint race, and you probably didn't see too much of it after that. But after all, though, still a very good executed race, and strategy worked in your favor. What do you think about the next few rounds?
The old cliche, I'll just take each round as it comes. It's the first proper sort of paid series I've done, so I'm just happy to be having recently joined the Ignium Motorsport boys, just happy to be driving with them and getting involved in some leagues. It's just about having fun for me, really, if I'm totally honest with you. I don't expect to be finishing at the top of the field, so like I say, tonight's a good result.
Good to hear from you, Andrew, and also congratulations on class victory, because you are a victor even though you finished third, winning the silver class rating here. Before we let you off the hook, as Hasse would say, is there anyone you want to thank before we leave you be?
Yeah, I've already given him a quick mention to the Ignorant boys. Thank you especially to Paul and Niels in the race, Paul, the team manager, for letting me join in a few weeks back. And a shout out to the rest of the boys. Shout out to you guys and Simracersworld TV for putting the league on. And see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Love seeing, and congratulations so much on the P3.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Class victory in silver then as well for him. Hasse, very good race for him, and really showed his strength as a silver driver. Do you think he will be good enough to actually become a gold-rated driver in a few weeks?
I think with a result like this, he should be up there indeed, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get that gold rating as well. I think his pace and consistency is certainly up there. So, but we'll have to see what the organizers and the stewards decide on that one, since, let's be honest to say, we don't have too much to say or do about that. I'm gonna draw in our final two interviewees of tonight. It's Edward May and Michael Pedersen all at once. And that's basically because I think you can both maybe sort of figure out what I'm going to ask you about. A certain lap 1, turn 1 incident. And I'd just like to hear from both of you how you saw it, starting with you, Michael.
Well, I was, to be fair, I was being a bit opportunistic. I got a pretty good start off the line, seeing as the leader waited for the green light instead of going. So I knew I had pretty good reflexes, so I got out. I think we were 3 wide. I was on the outside, and I kind of had the idea to brake a bit later and then cut in and use the inside of turn 2 to really gain an advantage coming through the field early. But yeah, I didn't get that far. All of a sudden, I saw a green car spinning out behind me, and then I was facing the wrong way around.
Which takes us to Edward, and just how you saw that entire situation there.
Yeah, I was a bit confused what happened at the start there. I think waiting until the green flag dropped at the beginning bunches up the field to no end, and I think no matter what track we go into, if we're waiting that late before getting started, the field's going to be so packed up, and things like that are almost inevitable to be happening into turn 1, especially at a circuit like Imola, where turn 1 is always a little bit sketchy when you're going 3 wide. I was put way out to the outside, so on single monitors I have no idea what's going on really. I'm able to have my spotter and that's it, so I'm trying to be on the right hand side. I get pushed off onto the grass initially, I think from one of the high-tech cars, I believe, or the H cars, I'm not sure. It was I feel like I get pushed off onto the grass, then I come back on, but the car's still a little bit squirrely, and as I'm stopping I get onto the grass yet again, and I end up spinning around in the background, as I think Markus explained. And then from then on out I had massive damage, 30-degree steering angle, and I had to carry that for about a third of the race until I could fit in.
Well, thanks for your words on what was indeed a huge incident, the biggest we've had so far this season, and one to remember. I think it was a big pile up. And glad to see both of you getting a somewhat decent result regardless, because you both managed to climb a good portion of the field from being at the very back. Good job, guys, and thanks for joining us in here.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you very much.
And since we have had sponsors words from both of them, we'll be all right this time around, I'm afraid. We're also running out of time here, and it's time we concluded. Markus, how would you summarize these two races we've had today in relatively few words?
I don't know how to say it. I mean, it's one of the better races I've seen in iRacing for a long time. It's an Italian Western movie, really, if you could say it like that. Duels throughout the field, and just amazing driving from all of them. Also, massive debut from Wilhelm as well. I need to pull that back in again. Really have to underline the fact that this is his fourth actual iRacing race before he's out here really showing up with the big boys. Definitely rooted to be rated more than a bronze driver in a few weeks time for sure. And yeah, really looking forward to 2 weeks when we're going to return again to a different track, and I'll get a quick look at which track we're going to be at, and that's Alton Park, which we will have these 30 BMW drivers through. So that's going to be a hoot, and I'm really looking forward to that in 2 weeks. So if you don't have anything to do on the 17th of February, you know where to tune in, subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, and then tune in 2 weeks time and get another look at these BMW trophy drivers duking it out for positions and victories.
Very much so, Markus. Beautifully said. And with that said, do not forget to tune in on the other days of this week where we're going to be broadcasting for you as well. It's going to be on Friday, where you're going to have Chas Strakert and myself at the rudder of the virtual Belcar Winter Series Round 3. It'll be 4 hours of 4-class, multi-class chaos, might I say, because it always is, and it's always hugely interesting. Join us for that on Friday. And the Sunday GT3 Masters are returning. The league that was formerly known as the Sunday GT3 World League, a favorite series of mine, because nothing is as unpredictable and in the end as fun to commentate upon, I think, as that series. I'm really looking forward to that, and that's going to be heading your way on Sunday as well. There's going to be plenty of action here on SRW TV. You heard what Markus the man said before. Like and subscribe if you think we deserve it. And I think all that remains to be said from us in the booth is thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us tonight. We do appreciate
one more thing, Hasse. One more thing. Hit that bell. Hit that bell for notifications as well. Make sure that you hit that bell.
That's true. That's true.
All 3 of them.
That's actually true. That's actually a good point. A good point to be made. And with that, all that remains to be said is from me and Markus. Thank you for joining us. As I said, it has been our utmost of pleasures having you along. We will hope to see you again soon. And until next time, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.
Ha det bra.